A domestic dispute in Abia State has taken a tragic turn after a woman was arrested for allegedly stabbing her husband to death with a kitchen knife. The victim has been identified as Innocent Nwoji, while the woman arrested in connection with his death has been identified by the police as Sarah Innocent. According to the Abia State Police Command, the incident happened on Saturday, August 8, 2026, at Ohuru Isemiri village in the Obingwa local government area of the state. What allegedly began as a misunderstanding between a husband and wife ended with a man sustaining the serious injury to his chest. He was rushed to the hospital, but doctors were unable to save his life. The Abia State Police Command confirmed that the victim was pronounced dead by a medical doctor. The case is now under investigation, while the woman remains in police custody. But this incident raises a disturbing question. How does a domestic disagreement escalate to the point where a husband allegedly loses his life inside his own community? The police said the incident was reported at the Ohuru Isemiri Police Divisional Headquarters on Sunday, August 9th. According to the command spokesperson, Maureen Chinaka, the report stated that Mrs. Sarah Innocent allegedly stabbed her husband in the chest with a kitchen knife during a misunderstanding. The police immediately began investigating the circumstances surrounding the incident. Officers visited the scene of the alleged crime, while the victim's body was deposited at the morgue. The police have also ordered an autopsy as part of the investigation. That autopsy could provide important evidence concerning the exact cause and circumstances of the man's death. Meanwhile, detectives at the State Criminal Investigation Department are conducting further inquiries. The police have not publicly disclosed what the disagreement was about. They have also not released details about what happened immediately before the alleged stabbing or whether there had been previous domestic disputes involving the couple. Those details could become important in understanding how the situation escalated. At this stage, authorities have confirmed the death and the arrest, but the allegation against Sarah Innocent remains an allegation. Her arrest does not by itself establish guilt. Investigators still have the responsibility of determining exactly what happened, gathering evidence, and establishing whether the allegations can be supported in court. That distinction is important in any criminal case. However, the circumstances described by the police remain deeply disturbing. A kitchen is normally associated with food, family life, and everyday domestic activities. But according to the police allegation, a kitchen knife was allegedly used during a disagreement between a husband and wife, resulting in a fatal injury. The incident therefore highlights the potentially devastating consequences of domestic conflicts when disagreements escalate into physical violence. Arguments can happen in relationships. Couples can disagree over money, family issues, responsibilities, personal decisions, and countless other matters. But when an argument turns violent, the consequences can become irreversible. In this case, investigators are now attempting to reconstruct the sequence of events that preceded the alleged stabbing. Who was present? What exactly triggered the disagreement? Was there any physical confrontation before the knife was allegedly used? Was the stabbing deliberate, or did something else happen during the confrontation? And were the previous incidents that investigators need to examine? These are some of the questions that the ongoing investigation may have to answer. The police said the scene of the incident has already been visited. That means investigators may be examining the location for evidence that could help establish what happened. the alleged weapon, the circumstances surrounding the injury, and statements from people who may have knowledge of the incident could all become relevant to the investigation. The autopsy is also expected to provide additional evidence for the families of innocent Nwoji. However, the investigation comes against the backdrop of an enormous personal loss. A man has lost his life following what police describe as a domestic misunderstanding. His family and relatives will now be waiting for answers about exactly what happened. At the same time, the woman arrested in connection with the case is facing a serious legal process. The police have not said what charges will eventually be filed, as the investigation remains ongoing. The case is therefore likely to depend heavily on the evidence gathered by investigators. It also raises a wider question about domestic violence and how quickly disagreements can become dangerous. When emotions become intense, people can sometimes make decisions with consequences that cannot be reversed. And when weapons are available during such confrontations, the danger becomes even greater. This is why authorities and community leaders frequently encourage people experiencing serious domestic disputes to seek intervention before situations become violent. But the tragedy in ABIA shows just how important those warnings can be. One argument can become a confrontation. One confrontation can become physical. And once a weapon is introduced, a family dispute can suddenly become a criminal investigation involving death. The incident also serves as a reminder that domestic violence is not limited to any particular gender or social class. While women are frequently victims of domestic violence, men can also become victims, and violence within relationships can have devastating consequences for everyone involved. In this case, the police allegations involves a woman accused of fatally stabbing her husband. But investigators will ultimately have to establish the facts based on evidence rather than speculation. The public should therefore allow the police investigation and legal process to run their course. The most immediate fact remains that innocent Nwoji died after sustaining an alleged stabbed wound to his chest. His wife, Sarah Innocent, has been arrested and remains in police custody. The police have confirmed that an investigation is ongoing at the State Criminal Investigation Department. The victim's body has been deposited at a morgue, pending an autopsy, while detectives continue to examine the circumstances surrounding the death. And there is one question that continues to hang over this disturbing case. What happened inside that home on Saturday night that turned a disagreement between a husband and wife into a tragedy that ended with a man dead and his wife behind bars? That is what investigators must now establish. Until the investigation is completed, the public should be careful not to assume guilt or speculate about facts that have not been established. But regardless of what the final investigation reveals, one thing is already clear. A domestic disagreement has ended with a devastating loss of life. The case will now move forward through the appropriate investigative and legal channels, with authorities expected to determine the full circumstances surrounding the death. And as Nigerians react to this shocking development from Abia State, the tragedy carries a painful reminder. When domestic conflict escalates into violence, the consequences can be permanent. If you want more breaking news from Nigeria, crime reports, and major developments from across the country, subscribe to the channel and stay with us for the latest updates. I am Cassie Tony. Many thanks for watching.